God, this isn't animated! Or anything like that. Did I subscribe to the wrong channel? No, abort, abort, abort! No, it's me. This is actually how I look in real life. Hey guys, this is Dani Freeze. You probably all know me as I likes to make stories through pre-existing characters. This is my 10th year on YouTube. 10 years! Seriously, I feel so old now. So first of all, I want to say thanks guys for all the support. You guys have given me so much feedback, so many comments, so much laughs. It's been a riot. Ironically, I've actually met a couple of you in real life too, so those opportunities are absolutely great. But this last opportunity, this is actually something I wanted to talk about for a while. I just got back from a family reunion in my secondary roots. My secondary roots? Canada! Yes, I am from the Great White North, so if anything goes wrong, I've got a free ticket out. This reunion was a little different because it was all family that I probably never met or had met when I was maybe a baby. It consists of my grandmother, my grandfather, my dad and his siblings, my grandma's cousins, their extended families, and then me. I was the only American cousin in the whole little group. I'm also one of the oldest cousins in the group. Of Generation Y, or Millennials, or whatever the hell you want to call us. So we go up to Penticton. How do you get there? Well, we spent the whole plane ride going from Albuquerque to Las Vegas. We spent some time in the Vegas casino, me looking at bedazzled shit. We got on our plane up to Spokane. I spent most of the ride sitting in the back of a car with my computer working on AMVs, while my parents hadn't been in the front arguing about which country music was better and which music put my dad to sleep. My father is very picky when it comes to his music. He will only stay awake for only a couple things. ABBA, 70s music, and country. You can name one of those things that I have a bit of a disdain for. We drive up, and by some sheer dumb luck, our border guard is absolutely empty. Usually when we drive up to Canada, we visit my grandparents who live up in Surrey. Surrey is about maybe an hour away from Vancouver, and literally 30 minutes from the border crossing, which is an hour away from Seattle. And that's on a good day. That's not when there's traffic mulling everything up. We get there, there's no cars. We drive through okay. We get to Penticton and we land in this gorgeous, gorgeous little set of cabins. We're right on the lake, and this lake is gorgeous. To our right is just mountains and beauty. On the left, vineyards, and occasional boats. Day number 2. Now because the houses were so small and there were so many of us, we had ended up getting all these buildings. I ended up on an air mattress on the floor, which was not built up very well, and I ended up having to toss and turn and be constructed by a giant sheet. I told my aunt I'd be okay, but deep down I was secretly glaring up at the ceiling of my Harry Potter closet going, why am I not in a bed? Why am I not in a bed? We ended up passing out sometime later. I wake up and I hang out with my younger ones and we decide to go down to the beach. Something I've learned recently, though, is that lake beaches are surprisingly better than ocean beaches. You don't get as much salt, the waves are a little bit more controlled, and you get a lot more fun times diving off the boards and playing volleyball. We had some family actually kind of do some strange back and forth due to some dysfunctions or cliches or whatever, which means that we get to go on the annual towing around on a motorboat. I let my cousins go first because, well, I'm nice like that. Which end up just me sitting in front of the boat watching everything go by. So then my turn comes up to get in the raft. What they don't tell me is that the raft on my side is absolutely horrible. The seat is not situated right. It moved every time we turned a sharp corner. I'm gripping on for dear life. The life jacket doesn't even fit me, and I ended up being choked to death by it. When it came time for me to actually get splashed, not only did I go flying, so this is the wave. This is the canoe. This is me. I ended up flying out like this. In fact, my arm still kind of hurts from where I hyperextended it. I land in the water, I'm holding my arm like this. I feel nothing. The guy in the boat asks me if I'm okay. I tell him, no, my arm is fucking hurting. What the hell is wrong with you? He says, get on with your good arm. I get on okay. We come home, I decided to go take it easy and just rest, which pretty much resulted in me lying on the couch, sipping tea, watching my cousins play. Pretty boring. Ironically, our next day was July 4th. To us Americans, that's a time where we start blowing crap up. To Canada, it's just a time to be lazy, and maybe get over your hangovers from Canada Day. Everything's going fine. I do my first very futile attempts at paddleboarding. If you've never tried it, it's hard. I managed to get up okay. So I'm paddling around, minding my own business. I find a new love of kayaking. Oh, I've got a great story about kayaking later, but I'll tell you more later. And as I'm going around, I smell something. I don't smell barbecue or people cooking. I smell smoke. Legitimate, pouring out of the darkness, smoke. Everyone's running around grabbing their things. I run into the window and I ask my mom, who's in the kitchen, "Hey Mom, do you smell smoke?" She says no. I gesture outside. She says, "It is kind of foggy though." Sure enough, literally right outside, on the edge of the little incline of the mountain, is a fire. I'm not talking like, oh, someone just accidentally lit a cigarette and threw it in the grass. I'm talking big bush. You can hear the flames crackling. Smoke is pouring in from all sides because the wind is coming this way and the fire is coming up this way, and basic physics says when heat and air combine, boom. It is everywhere. The people are running around with containers full of ice and they're dumping it out. My aunt, being as loving as she is taking selfies by the fire. I am sitting there saying, "Get your butt off your camera and let's go." My mom agrees. We pack up the rental car. We drive over. Now my dad, my grandpa, and my younger male cousin Anderson have all gone to play golf. I was giving them a call, but because my cell service was really funny, I couldn't exactly get them in time. It turns out they were only at the 18th hole, but when they got my call, they all didn't know what to do. We agreed to meet at a Walmart. So there was a whole slew of us hanging out in the McDonald's and the concourse area of this Walmart. My grandmother was super hungry and she had to have a chicken sandwich. My poor aunt looks at us and goes, "I need a drink." Because nothing's worse than toting around your grandmother who is super hungry and then wanting to leave somewhere to get back to her hotel where she's going to be safe. I love my grandma though. We all come back. My cousin is over here and he's soaking wet. We ask him, "What happened?" Because here we are nearly getting dried and nearly roasted on a stick, while my cousin is here soaking wet. My grandpa says, in his best Canadian accent, "Well, I fell in the water." We look at him and say, "What?" Anderson, who's my cousin, says, "Yeah, I fell in the water, and my phone got wet." Dad takes them to the nearest area and they buy a bag of rice. We all know this trick. You put your phone in the rice and it's supposed to absorb it, which in the end ends up not working or working for you or whatever outcome may be. Either way, my cousin's phone died. It didn't matter if the rice helped him or not. I chewed them out saying he got the wrong rice because it was the type that had the weird fuzzies because you need to wash it out. I was right. We all go ways, but then my dad says, "Why don't we call up Mike?" Mike is actually an old friend of my dad's. They went to college together. They were roommates. They've been connections for how long? They were even in my dad's wedding. So my dad calls up Mike. He says, "We need a place to stay because our hotels may or may not be on fire." They live in Kelowna, which is an hour away from the area and kind of more of a suburban-y area as opposed to the on-the-lake gorgeousness where's Ogopogo situation. We drive around Kelowna, which is a beautiful drive. Again, lakes, vineyards. Once you get past the smoke, it's actually not that bad. They have the most beautiful house I've ever seen in my life. We drive up. Mike and his wife Kim greet us, and they're super friendly about it. And it turns out I actually knew their kids. Or at least I thought I did. Kim starts spoiling me like crazy. Mom looks at me and goes, "Get used to it. She misses her daughter." Her kids are both in college and they're off studying, and I've already completed my degree and have a job. So they're asking me questions, we're sitting around having a nice dinner. Next morning, Mike and Kim have no plans. Kim has to work, but Mike says, "How about we go on a wine tour?" Normally in these areas you have all these wine tours, and they do stuff like drive you around, have you sipping wine, ask you what it tastes like. This was my very first wine tour, so I'm pretty darn excited. We drive up to these beautiful, beautiful locations. I took a ton of pictures of those. We end up having two types of wine. The first one we have is an Ehrenfalster, that's what it's called. There we go. Nice white German one that's really good cold. That probably ended up being my favorite. The second one we had was a another German wine. Gerstenstreimer? Jurgenstreimer, Schrickendreimer, my Swedish chef impression, apparently. We like our German wine, apparently. Ah, shit. I'm so sorry, I just spilled my tea. Okay, I'm back. So after that's up, Mike says, let's go to this other winery up the hill. I've got a members club, so we can just drink as much as we'd like. We stop at another area. We take a wine glass, and I end up trying a red that has the similar name to my school. It tasted like crap. And everyone agreed. We continue driving around, going to all these different wineries. At this point, I'm pretty much hammered. I'm one of those drunks that, like, I kind of get a general sense of what's going on, and I can kind of still act normal, but deep down I'm still kind of groggy. Basically think sake and cactus juice. That's basically me drunk minus the hallucinations. We go to this last winery. At this point, I'm done. I'm just sipping this rosé that actually ended up being my favorite. Or I think it was. I probably couldn't tell which ones I could remember because I drank in total about maybe 3 glasses of wine, counting the tastings put together. My mom and dad are looking for a nice wine to give them as a thank you gift. What do they end up buying? The Wayne Gretzky wine. Because we're Americans, and we apparently buy everything that has a celebrity endorsement on it. That and my cousin plays hockey. We buy the Wayne Gretzky wine, we go on our way. We actually end up getting a nice wine to go with dinner too, but at this point I'm just like, it's alcoholic, it's adult grape juice, I'm fine. We also look at stuff about the fire on the news because apparently in British Columbia they're having a lot of hot spots. Now I'm going to actually kind of talk back and say in all seriousness that if you are in that area and you are experiencing those hot spots, I'm really sorry. I'm not the dumb American that brought the fireworks over the border, I promise. The next day we just kind of spend shopping around with Kim. We spend some time catching up with her, having some girl stuff, while Mike and my dad go do golfing. In case you haven't noticed, my dad likes to golf. A lot. We finish our girly time. We decide that, well, let's see what the cabins are up. Sure enough, the fire's out near our cabins, and people are being able to move back in. We drive all the way down there. We catch back, we get our usual cabins again. This time, I actually end up getting a bed. I end up getting a super small one, but it doesn't matter because I'm at least comfortable, and with my shoulder still being really awkward like it was, I was able to get some decent amount of rest. I wake up about 10 o'clock Canada time. It leads to me going back out and realizing I can go kayaking and paddleboarding all over again. I get in my kayak, I start paddling out, I'm enjoying the view, I'm checking out the fire damage, because that's what you do when you come back, you check out fire damage. I notice a pump that's taking out some of the ash, I take no mind to it, and I just continue paddling. Dad's supposed to catch up, but he was too busy talking. They were also sharing swap stories about what they were going through when the Fire Nation attacked. So I will go paddling around, I'm exploring. We come across this cave. Apparently my mom and my aunt found this cave earlier, which they told me later, but me being curious wanted to check it out. Because who knows, maybe you'll have a fun adventure when you go into a cave. I part over the weird ivy or vines. I checked, it wasn't poisonous. But as I'm driving through, something floats by me. What I see is a pair of lacy, mint green panties. My thoughts immediately think, okay, either a child was drowned here or this is where people like to get their hanky-panky on. Regardless, I'm going to keep this here and have the next person get a good laugh. I go back, I ask my mom about the quote-unquote lover's cave. She says, oh, you found it? What are my chances of ever finding the first ancient, pretty panties of doom? How dare you crush my dreams, Mom? We say our goodbyes, and it's off to our long trip down the border. So, we cross back into the United States okay, and end up taking that long drive back through Spokane. We land in Oakland okay, and turns out we have a connecting flight. Our plane goes immediately back to Albuquerque, after we stand up in the seats while it's parked and stretch our legs. We land back in Albuquerque, we're admiring everything. We play the ultimate game of whose baggage is gonna come first. The one thing that's missing is my father's luggage. He kind of looks around almost bewildered. He's kind of looking around and he goes, "Where the fuck is my luggage?" Well, he doesn't say that, but he just is definitely panicking and he's pushing us, me and my mom, aside. Mom and I are sitting down, we're watching everyone get their bags, and my mom looks over and goes, "Thank God it wasn't the golf clubs." I just say, "Thank God they didn't burn in the fire." And that was all my week in Canada, and it was, minus all the smoke and everything, and some collateral damage, a ton of fun. Once again, guys, thanks for having me here for 10 years, entertaining, having all this fun stuff with you. If you liked my vlogs, maybe have some more. Maybe I'll have some great stories, and you guys maybe want to hear some more stories from me there. So until then, thanks again for the 10 years.